Understand about what is cardiac cycle. It is a very important cycle which will take place inside our body and which is essential for pumping of blood and for continuation of our life. So what is this cardiac cycle? So it refers to all the cyclic events which will take place per one heartbeat. So once your heart beats, before another beat, whatever the events that are taking place inside the heart, that is what is called as the cardiac cycle. Okay, so cardiac cycle is marked by systole and diastole. So what is systole? Systole is nothing but it is the contraction of the heart. Diastole is nothing but it is the relaxation of the heart. We know that heart is a pumping machine, so it will pump blood by the contraction and relaxation process. So contraction is called systole and relaxation is what is called as diastole. So in cardiac cycle, actually, what are the stages that are there? So we can understand simply through this flow chart. There will be atrial systole followed by ventricular systole followed by joint diastole. What is atrial systole? The contraction of the auricles is called atrial systole. So when the blood is getting received into the auricles, if you remember, from the inferior vena cava, superior vena cava, it will get loaded with the blood. This side, it will be loaded with the oxygenated blood. So when both the auricles, they are filled with the blood, they will be contracting, and that is called as the atrial systole. So atrial systole, when it happens, all the blood will move into the ventricle. And when the ventricle gets full like that, the blood may try to escape back into the auricle. Then the auriculoventricular valves which are there will close, creating the lup sound, as we have already discussed. Then what will happen? The next stage will be ventricular systole. That is, when the ventricles are full with the blood, they try to pump the blood into the aorta. So to pump the blood into the aorta, they will contract, which is called the ventricular systole. So once the blood enters into the respective aorta, there is a chance of flowing back into the ventricles. The blood can flow back into the ventricles, which will be stopped by the aortic valves there. So that will create the dup sound. Already we have discussed this. Okay, so during cardiac cycle, when the heartbeat goes on, so that's why we are able to hear the dup sound. Then next we have is, so the time taken for the entire cardiac cycle is 0.8 seconds. For atrial systole, it is 0.1 second. For ventricular systole, it is 0.3 seconds. Then there is another stage called the joint diastole. What is this joint diastole? Once the contractions have finished, all the chambers of the heart, they will relax, and that is called as the joint diastole. So during this very brief period, the heart muscle will get rest for just a fraction of a second so that it can function better. Okay, so that is the significance of joint diastole. Your heart is not stopping at any point, but there is a brief resting phase, it is called as. So that is joint diastole, which will be for 0.4 seconds. So actually, when diastole takes place, it ensures that the deoxygenated blood flows to the lungs for purification or oxygenation, and also the oxygenated blood is getting pumped throughout the body during this diastolic phase. That is the joint diastole. So, the overall cardiac cycle is for 0.8 seconds, atrial systole 0.1 second, ventricular systole is 0.3 seconds, and joint diastole is 0.4 seconds. So if you see all together, the timing matches with the overall timing of the cardiac cycle. So this is how the cardiac cycle will take place. So what is the significance? As I told, the main thing is it is responsible for pumping of the blood. So the blood gets pumped to the lungs, and also it is getting pumped to the all the body parts. So oxygenated blood and the deoxygenated blood will be pumped to the respective parts. Okay, so depending upon the chambers from where they are sent out. Then next we have is, it maintains the blood pressure. So we'll come to know what is blood pressure. So it helps to maintain the pressure inside the arteries. Because of this pumping action only, the pressure is getting maintained, and it will prevent the fatigue of the heart muscle. So if you go on working continuously, at a point we feel this condition called fatigue. That is, lot of tiredness is what is called as fatigue. So our heart muscle will not get fatigue because of this brief resting phase, as I told you, the joint diastole stage. So like this, fatigue of the heart muscle can be prevented. And the heart rate basically the body can adjust the heart rate and the stroke volume. Stroke volume refers to the amount of blood that is coming out from the heart. So when you are doing exercises or when any other changes are there in your body, according to that the stroke volume has to increase or decrease, and that will be maintained because of the cardiac cycle. So this is very much vital for sustenance of the life, for sustaining our life. Cardiac cycle is very much essential. If there is no cardiac cycle, heart will not function, and further we will not function, and finally it is the case of death. So this is the importance of cardiac cycle in our body.